Hello YouTube. This is part 3 of my Linux from scratch run through. I'm doing this pretty much unprepared. So without further ado, we'll get into it. And this looks like it's about creating. We're still doing preparation, set up the environment by the looks of it. So I want to let's go to the introduction. And we go to there. And it says, in this chapter, we will perform a few additional tasks to prepare for building the temporary system. We will create a set of directories in the LFS. In LFS, that's the directory. If we just clear the, just a reminder for those who may have forgot. That is where we've mounted our Linux from scratch disk, in which we will install the temporary tools, add an unprivileged user, and create an appropriate build environment for that user. We will also explain the units of time SBUs we use to measure how long it takes to build LFS packages. I'm not too worried about that. If it takes a long time, I'll just give the virtual machine more resources, I think. And provide some information about package test suites. I'm more interested in that, to be honest. I'm not sure why you need to do this. Well, we'll read it later. I'm always confused by stuff like this. Like this arbitrary unit of time. Like, okay, it takes as long as it's going to take. If you've got a faster system, it's going to happen quicker. Okay. Right, so let's go to the first part of chapter 4, and it says in this section we begin populating the LFS system with pieces that will constitute the final Linux system. The first step is create a limited directory hierarchy so that programs compiled in chapter 6, as well as glibc and libstd C++ in chapter 5, can be installed in their final location. We do this so temporary programs will be overwritten when the final version is built in chapter 8, okay? Right, so create the required directory layout by issuing the following commands as root. Well, I am root, which is good. And this looks like we're going to make etc and var directory, as well as bin, lib, and sbin, okay? And then this seems to loop through these and symlinks them. Okay. And then this makes a oh, it's a lib64. Okay, so this makes a so what this script does is it just makes some directories, it loops through them, and it sets some symlinks by the looks of it, and then you name minus. I'm not sure what that does. It's not too important though. I think we can just run this. I think I understand more or less what this is doing. So we just we could just run that as is. Yeah, that looks like it worked correctly. And then it says, if programs in chapter 6 will be compiled with a cross compiler, more details can be found in the section tool chain and technical notes. Well, I'll open that. I won't read it now, but I might have a quick go over it later. This is probably, I know a little bit of C and C++. However, I'm far from an expert, so I can usually stick together an SDL game or write some console apps and can do some CMake stuff. So this might be, I'll have to have a good read through this because I'm not an expert on C or C++ development. So the cross compiler will be installed in a special directory to separate from other programs, still acting as root. Create a directory with this command. Okay, so this is like a tools directory. Okay, so this is like fairly straightforward so far. Mount LFS tools. Yeah, that looks right. Right, so there's a note here. The LFS editors have deliberately decided to use not to use a USR lib64 directory. Several steps are taken to be sure the tool chain will not use it. If for any reason this directory appears, either because you made an error in the following instructions or because you installed a binary package that created it after finishing LFS, it may break the system. You should always be sure this directory does not exist. Okay, that's probably good to remember. I'm literally going to follow the book through, so I don't think this will happen. So I think we're good. So we now need to go to add in the LFS user. Right, so when logged in as user root, making a single mistake can damage or destroy a system. Therefore, the package in the next two chapters will be built as an unprivileged user. You should use your own username. You could use your own username, but make it easier. Set up a clean working environment. We'll create a new user called LFS as a member of a new group, also named LFS, and run commands as LFS during the installation process. As root, issue the commands to add a new user. So this is literally just adding a group. It's fairly straightforward. And then user add. So the shell's been bash, group LFS. I'm not sure what that means. So sometimes when you're not sure, you can do explain shell. Really good tool. And it's going to be really slow, isn't it? Come on, I've got to give you one more second. Right, well, that's not working for whatever reason. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe the service is very overloaded at the moment. So we'll do that. And well, we can just use the man page. Man user add. And what's M and K? I'll create home, and K is what? That's it's lowercase. All right, so that's the skeleton directory. Okay. Okay. Right. So that's okay. This is like fairly straightforward. So it creates home directory, doesn't copy anything over by the looks of it from the skeleton directory. So it just makes I think it just makes an empty home directory. So, it goes into, I could have just read down. Parameter prevents possible copy of files from a skeleton directory by changing the input. Like I could have just read below. Oh well, that's it's good to work it out for yourself though sometimes. So we're just going to copy this. I think that's fine, but I know it's fine. So I think it's fine. Yep. And then it goes through the things I should have read down past. If you want to log in LFS or switch to LFS on non-root user as opposed to switching to user LFS when logged in as root, which does not require the LFS user to add a password, you need to set up a password for LFS. Issue the password as root. So LFS. Oh. Not a very secure password, but it'll do. Grant LFS full access to all the directories under LFS by making LFS the owner. Okay. So this is, so this basically, it just does a changeover. and then it just changes the owners on all these. So that's pretty straightforward. Yep, that worked. All right, I'm gonna just see if I can open you. Do that. Yeah, that's right. So what this is doing next to shell, it's basically just asking me to log in, and it makes sure you're supposed to start the login shell. Okay. We'll just make sure we always do that. It's fine. And now we need to set up the environment. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to this is basically setting up Bash pretty much by the looks of it. Now my Debian series, I've got my own Bash set up, but we're going to do exactly what they tell us to do here because otherwise the instructions won't work, basically. I suspect. So right, so it says set up a good working environment by creating 2 new startup files for the Bash shell. When logged in as user LFS, issue the following commands to create a new Bash profile. Okay, let's do that. All right, so if I do ls-al as Bash profile, and let's just see what that did, because I think I know what it did. Okay, home tab, PS1. Right, so this sets execute. I'm not sure what that does. When logged in on as user LFS, when switched to LFS user using SU command with the dash option, the initial shell is a login shell which reads the etc profile of the host, probably containing some settings and environment variables. Yeah, that definitely exists in Debian. I'm pretty sure that exists in Debian. And then bash profile. The exec env bin bash command in the bash profile replaces the running shell with a new one with completely empty environment except for home, term, and PS1 variables. Oh, right. Okay. This ensures that no unwanted and potentially hazardous environment variables from the host system leak into the build environment. Yeah. So what this does, it always sets up something that's completely clean. So this is not something. There won't be any Debianisms get in there and some other stuff that may affect their instructions. So that's why they do that. This is the new instance of the shell is the new instance of the shell is non-logger shell, which does not read and execute the contents of etc profile or the bash profiles, but rather it reads and executes the bash rc file. Create the bash rc file now. Well, I know what one of those is, and this is just setting some environment variables and some other bits and pieces. Right, so the set H command turns off all Bash's hash functions. Hashing is normally at these feature, blah, blah, blah. Have a new talk. Remember the full Bash's hash table. Remember the full path to executable files in order to avoid searching the path time and time again for the same executable. However, the new tool should be used as soon as they are installed. Switching off the hash function forces shell to search the path whenever a program is run. As such, the shell will find a newly compiled programs in LFS $LFS/tool/bin as soon as they are available without remembering a previous version of the same program, provided in the host history, which is /usr bin or bin. Okay. So won't go over that again. We spoke over that in the earlier video. That is in that environment variable, which is where the LFS disk is mounted. LC or POSIX. Right, okay. I'm not that I kind of know what this does. Yeah, so this sets the localization, and this basically just essentially resets it. The LFS underscore TGD environment so it's a non-default but a compatible machine description for use when building our cross compiler and link when compiling our temporary toolchain. More information is provided by the toolchain technical notes. And then path is /USR bin. Many large distributions have merged bin in the USR bin. When this is the case, the standard path variable should be set to USR bin in chapter 6. When this is not the case, the following adds bin to the path. Okay. Bin is not simple. It must be added to the path variable. Okay. I think bin is on Debian, but it's already in here. They've accounted for this, I'm sure. Path. That just sets a path. Config site. So this is another environment variable that you use later. It's the configure script may attempt to load configure specific. All right, so this basically it goes and overrides it basically overrides where it finds the configure scripts. Override it will prevent potential contamination from the host. Yeah, so it just basically just make sure that it's in the correct place essentially. When the preceding commands have some variables in order, we're just exporting. Do we have that? So we can check whether we have this file. So it says several commercial distributions added undocumented instantiation of etc bash.bashrc did initialization of bash. The file has potential to modify the LFS user environment variables in ways that can affect building the critical LFS packages. To make sure that the LFS user's environment is clean, check for the presence of this, and if present, move it out of the way as a root user run. So we can just see if it's there, basically. So let's see. I'll just have a look. So at etc bash.rc. Yeah, it's there. I'm pretty sure it was. So we will run that as root in this directory. All right, so let's rename that. All right, and this is where it basically goes and configures our make flags. All right, so basically, I'm not going to read all this. So if you've got 8 cores or eight virtual cores in your machine, you put J8, and it will basically try to scale the compiler over the cores. Oh, this is the make flags variable. Right, so you can actually think is you can just evaluate this, can't you? Is it $n? I can't type today again. Okay. So I don't know how to. I'm rubbish at Bash. So right. So all this is doing is basically just appending this line to the end of my file. And if I so I ran it in the wrong shell there. Not paying attention. So I'm just going to vim this and remove it. It probably won't hurt. I can't help. I'm not going to go. Oh, we'll do it in the right one this time. Right, if we do echo at Zarcy. Right, that's that there. And if we source that, and got a dollar on the front of it. Yeah, J4. Yeah, because I've given this VM essentially the same as quad core processor, so that should come out as J4. Right, so that's fine. Yeah, so we'll do source bash underscore profile. So there we go. Okay, that looks right. So what this is saying, I'm not going to read all this out because it's quite long and it won't make a particularly interesting video if I read like everything out. So what this is basically saying is that they have like a concept of standard build unit. And the standard build unit is essentially like a normalized unit that basically is kind of neutral across my understanding of reading this, because I read this earlier. Yeah, so if a one standard build unit takes, what was it took? Yeah, so it's basically if your system takes X amount of time to do one build unit, it will take 5x amount of time to do 5 build units. This is what this is saying. I'm not going to bother with this. This is talking about power profiles and stuff. I've got a 5950X and behind this. And if I need to give it more cores, if it takes too long, I'll just reboot the machine and give it more resources if I feel like it's taking too long. Right, so I'm not going to cover all this. You can read it yourself. I don't think there's any benefit in me go through all this. Right, about test suites. Most packages provide a test suite. Running the test suite for newly built packages is a good idea because it can provide a sanity check, indicate everything compiled correctly. Yeah, this is like pretty standard software engineering stuff. Whenever I download anything, I run the test suite to make sure it works properly. The test suite that passes is set checks usually proves that the package's function as the developer intended. It does not, however, guarantee the package is totally bug-free. Well, people disagree with me, but generally the software will typically have some bugs. Very rarely is things devoid of bugs. Only very simple programs. Some test suite are more important than others. For example, test suites for the core toolchain packages, GCC, binutils, and glibc are of the utmost importance due to the central role to properly functioning system. The test suites for GCC and glibc can take a very long time to complete, especially on slow hardware, but are strongly recommended. So we'll probably run those, and I'll just speed it up in the video or skip it. A common issue with running test suites from binutils and GCC is running out of pseudo terminals, PTYs. This can result in a large number of failing tests. This may happen for several reasons, but most likely is the host system does not have the dev PTS file set up correctly. The issue is discussed in great detail. Okay, well, we'll open that. And if we need to refer to it, we will. I don't want to make these videos too long, and I know I've been going through this quite slowly. Some packages test suites will fail for reasons which the developer are aware of and deemed non-critical. Consult the logs, build logs to verify whether these failures are expected. Okay, this is like pretty standard stuff. It's in software engineering. And we are now on to chapter 5. So I'm going to leave the video there, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. So bye-bye.